So this is another of the Masters of the Universe Revelation Masterverse figures, Skelegod. And I mean, this figure just looks so impressive inside the box. Can't wait to get him out. So colourful, big, bulky. I love the look of it. So let's get him out and have a look now. Hi all, Chris here, and yeah, today we're taking another look back at the Masters of the Universe Revelation series. So these were the figures that I've started to pick up fairly cheap now. There's a couple of shops here in the UK at least that are kind of bargain binning these figures, which is great for me because I never picked them up at the time, but now I can look back on them and see what the figures are like, see if they hold up, knowing what I know about the show. So this is really me just getting the chance to get some really wicked Masters of the Universe figures for really cheap and give you my thoughts. And the Skelegod looks amazing, you know, like just in the box. I have no idea what it's going to be like in hand, but I mean, he's proper imposing, isn't he? And the colours, the purples and the blacks and this like translucent green, they all look amazing. So let's first take a look at the box and see what we think. So I mean, the front of the box, I love the blister pack on these. I love the design, the blue and black with the the cracking on the box. The figure, like I say, just looks superb inside the box. And I like, again, the tighter packaging we've talked about, how some of these Masterverse figures came in really big packaging. Loving the artwork on the side as well. Really, really excellent artwork. Looks like it's come straight out of the show. Skelegod on the other side. And then on the back again, look at that artist's rendition of that figure. It's just incredible, like 80s style artwork that I would happily have on my wall. Really, really excellent drawing. I'm sorry I don't know the name of the artist that did it, but there's the other figures that are in the range as well, and the Mattel logo there as well. But yeah, I love that box, but I mean, without further ado, let's get him out and see what we think. So here we have the figure himself with a couple of accessories. I think a fairly reasonable number for the price that I paid. But let's start with the figure himself. And I mean, yeah, wow. I mean, it's got some weight to him as well. But the armor that this Skelegod's wearing, the Skelegod, the version of Skeletor that we see in that scene with Savage He-Man, has got some fantastic detail on him. I mean, look at this cape. This cape comes in like 3 layers. It's ridiculous. Such an impressive cape. Yeah, I mean, it's so super impressive to look at. I really do think he's spectacular in his design. The head sculpt as well. Let's get a closer look at that head. I mean, maybe a bit of the paintwork isn't the best on that head sculpt. It's not bad though. I mean, I love the design, the color scheme across his chest as well. That like bright pink, purple, and fluorescent yellow on his chest. I mean, the blue and black wash or whatever it is, the colors that they've used on the chest and the arms, incredible. Yeah, really, really love that color scheme. And I'm really enjoying the armour as well. So it really does make him stand apart from a standard Skeletor figure. And there's the ankles there. We said before how similar the feet look on all of these figures. More armour on the bottom as well. And then there's that cape. Just what a great fabric cape that is. And the fact that it's in so many different layers as well. With these plastic lugs as well that kind of weigh down the thinner part of that cape. So I'm really, really loving this figure at the minute. The different colour gradients as well on the 3 layers of the cape. And that tiny little light pink trim on the bottom as well. Such an attention to detail that I'm really impressed with. So far, I'm loving this far more than a lot of the Masterverse figures that we've picked out. And there's a little look underneath the cape as well. You can see more of that wonderful dark and light blue wash that's been used on the musculature on the stomach and on the legs, on the back, sorry, and on the legs. Yeah, really impressed. One thing I don't love, look how loose this head is. Really not impressed with that. So, and I'm not a massive fan of how janky the armor feels as well. It's a little bit thin plastic and it moves maybe a little bit too easily. You can see how easily these pieces of armor move. Let's just see how easy it is to get off. Yeah, I mean, so you can take this armor off if you wish. They do sort of fall around quite easily on there. So, you know, if you're not careful, they can just sort of sit in a place that you don't like. Yeah, and you can see the cape comes off as well. It's designed with a couple of hooks that just hook over his back plate. So nice and easy to get that on and off. And I guess it means that it won't damage if it gets caught on something. Hopefully it will just release from the armour there. And I'm just pointing out that you can see that this armour is easily removable, just like all of these figures in this range. So easy to remove any of the additional armour that's covering the body. So let's take a look at articulation. And the head definitely has good 360 movement on it. Not too bad downward movement, but terrible upward movement really, and very loose, as I said before. Like if you shake this, it's like a bobblehead. So not hugely keen on how loose that head is. I don't know if it's just mine. Let me know in the comments. Is this a common thing? I don't know. So movement at the top of the arm is blocked a little bit by the armour there, but it's got a reasonably good upward T-pose there. There is twist in the tops of the arm, which is nice. There is a double joint in the elbow as well. As with all of this range, there is a little bit of warming you've got to do to that though. And there is also a twist and pivot in the wrist, which is really nice. Moving on to the waist, there is a reasonable ab crunch. Not too bad. Just moves a little bit forwards and backwards, but yeah, I can absolutely get with that. That's not too bad at all. Tiny little bit of twist in the upper waist and a really good waist movement there. Good twist in the waist. The upward part of the legs moves okay, decent amount upwards. And there is a twist in the upper leg as well. There is a nice double joint in the knee. There is twist in the calf. Although you can't see it very well with these knee shin guards on, although the shin guards looking very impressive. And there is up and down movement on the ankle, as well as a small amount of pivot as well. So not too bad with articulation, but I would say some really stiff joints that you might need to work a little bit before you move them. And if we move on to accessories, there are a couple of nice accessories with it. So we do get a pair of sword holding hands, which could also double up for punching hands if you needed to. So I'm quite impressed with the level of detail on here. I'm loving if you can see the difference between the matte on the inside of the hands and then the gloss finish on the fingers where the armor is. So that's really impressive. Love that level of detail. And I'm really liking this fluorescent green sort of explosive plasma punch that you can put over those wrists to give the impression of him harnessing power for a big punch. So really, really like the look of that. Very nice and sort of semi-translucent as well. I'm really impressed with the colouring on it. It's giving me Slimer vibes. Really like that. And you can see here that it's that same translucent green that's around Skelegod's neck as well. So I really like that attention to detail. And then we also have the power sword, the Sword of Eternia, and I really, really like the three-tone look to this. So you can see the very shiny silver on the blade itself, and then towards the hilt you've got that dark grey plastic, and then you've also got the brown on the hilt as well. So I really like the sort of three-tone design that's on there. It just gives a little added, depth to it, I guess is the word. It feels more like a fully rounded accessory as opposed to it just being all one colour come out of the mould. But let's get him into a few poses now. Let's see what he looks like, and then I'll give you my thoughts. So in general, I'm really impressed with this figure. I think it's possibly my favourite of this Masterverse range so far, and I've only bought 6 altogether. This is a 5th that I've looked at, but I am really, really impressed with the level of detail on it, the paint application, the articulation. It's just got a lot going for it. And, as I say in a lot of videos, it strikes a really, really powerful silhouette. Those shoulder pads, those gauntlets on his elbows and on his knees, they just add extra texture and, craggly sort of detail to this Skeletor form that makes him, the Skelegod that we see in the show. I'm very, very impressed with this figure, and I think he's going to look great on shelf. And as I said before, these aren't new figures. So, if this interests you, go and check it out in a store. I mean, there's so many places that I've seen that are selling these cheap. Now, I can't speak for everywhere, but I would say for a figure that's around 3 years old, hopefully you'll be able to find it somewhere or in a third-party second-hand market, perhaps. But I really, really love this figure. I think the head sculpt, like I said before, maybe the paint app is a little rough in places, but it's a skeleton. You know, it's going to have a lot of rough detail to it anyway, a lot of odd shading in different places because it's not a standard face. So I don't really have a great deal of issue with that. And I really like the dark purple on his horns as well. You don't really see that dark purple paint app anywhere else on the figure other than like perhaps the fabric on the cape. So I like that that's sort of a unique colour against the rest of the figure. So yeah, and I really like the accessories too. We do see him wielding, you know, the Sword of Power in the show when he's fighting Savage He-Man. So I like that he comes with that. I think it makes far more sense than the Power Sword coming with Savage He-Man actually in that figure, because, you know, Savage He-Man doesn't really use the sword at that point. So I love that it comes with the sword. I think that's a really nice looking accessory. And I mean, I can't grumble that I've got one more power sword, you know. It's a great accessory in and of itself. I also love this sort of punching effect, this translucent green effect. You can be able to pose him in so many different positions looking really menacing with this sort of translucent green effect. And I think if you've got any green lighting that you can put on him as well, unfortunately I don't, but I really think that would help make it pop, especially with the sort of fluorescent yellow-green that he's got on the front of his chest as well, and the little fluorescent accents that are on his shoulder pads. There's just great detail on it. I'm really, really impressed. So I can't complain at all with this figure. So yeah, overall, I really love it. I do think it's my favourite Revelation figure so far. And I have been thinking about it. And if I see more, I'm definitely going to be buying more of these figures after I've reviewed the 6th one. So we've got Tri-clops coming. Really excited about that because I think this figure looks pretty impressive as well. But let me know in the comments what you think. Did you ever pick these up when they first came out? Is this something that maybe you're interested in getting in the future? What did you think of the show? I was a bit meh with the show. It had its high points and it had some really low points for me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it as well. It's hugely helpful to me. And please consider subscribing to my channel as well. Just hit 1,000 subscribers. So thanks again to everyone for subscribing. Hugely, hugely grateful for your support. But please come and join us. Our community would love to have you. But regardless, if these Masterverse figures interest you, why don't you check out this review next? Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you all take care. Bye now.